Welcome to The Special Sauce, the podcast that goes inside the minds of recruitment's top 1%. We're your hosts, Chris Pedicus and Lee Jones, the founders of Sorciety, the rec-to-rec agency connecting elite recruiters with elite opportunities. Each week, we sit down with agency recruiters who are billing big numbers annually to uncover what really drives high performance in this industry. It's no fluff, it's no filters, it's just real conversations with the best in the business. Let's get into it. Today on The Special Sauce, we're joined by the one and only Laura Frazer from Frazer Tremble. Originally from Belfast, Northern Ireland, Laura had made the move across the world to Australia and joined the recruitment sector over 10 years ago. With a focus on recruiting senior roles across tech, digital, business transformation and project services, she was quickly able to build a strong reputation with clients and candidates, which has seen her billing over $1 million consistently. Fast forward a few years, and Laura established Frazer Tremble Executive, while still being hands-on and running her own desk, still training and developing staff, and all the while managing 2 young kids. Today, we take a deep dive to look at how Laura's been able to consistently deliver big numbers year on year, how she builds relationships, manages her time, and how she's continued to stay at the top of her game. Welcome to The Special Sauce, Laura.
Thank you for having me both. Excited.
Pleasure is ours.
Yeah.
Pleasure is ours. It's been a big, I guess, 12 months for you. I mean, big few years, but last 12 months in particular with everything that's going on. How's it all going?
Look, juggling 2 small children, a business, a social life, a husband, and some form of functioning human being. Look, it has its challenges, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Good.
That's the way.
Yeah.
All right.
And just in general, how is the tech market for you and I guess just in general in Australia and in Melbourne in particular at the moment?
Well, I'm definitely always a glass half full kind of gal, and I think, look, it is improving, which is good. You know, I think anybody that's worked in the tech and transformation space over the last, I'd say 12 to 18 months, it's been hard, but we've been here before.
Yep.
Recruitment's hard. So like, I don't remember an easy year. I remember good years and not so good years, but I don't remember easy years. So I think it's just business as usual, quite frankly.
You mentioned there, I guess, that you've been here before, you know, and recruitment does have those cycles. So like, what advice would you have for, you know, maybe younger or junior recruiters who are experiencing that for the first time?
You're not alone. Like anybody that tells you that it's easy at the minute, I dare say might be saying a few porky pies. But if you really genuinely want a career in recruitment, you should always be playing the long game anyway. So regardless of what it feels like right this second, if you're doing the work and you're building relationships and you're playing the long game, you will eventually get the fruits of your labor. Always.
100%. I think when we first started many moons ago, right, probably showing our age, it was during the GFC, right? That was our
awesome
first. I think we started.
Love that.
I think we started about maybe 6 to 9 months before it, right? So at that time it was super easy, and then the GFC hit, and we were sort of 21, 22 where I was, but couldn't even spell GFC, right? So let alone understand what it was. But I remember just our leaders at that time just focus on building relationships, building trust. Right, it's a hard time. You'll get through it. They're in the same situation as we are with their businesses, and you'll get through it. And 12, 18 months later, whatever it was, times are good. So it's just cycles of recruitment, isn't it?
And you live to tell the tale.
That's right. That's right. Nearly 20 years later. One thing I want to go into, Laura, we discussed off air just how you set yourself up for success. Right? Can you take us through that in terms of what you do, whether it's on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis? How do you set yourself up to achieve the goals that you want to do in your desk?
Other than copious amounts of coffee, and red wine in the evenings, not the healthiest way to manage yourself. But in terms of like day-to-day structure, it's pretty boring because everything is repeatable. Yeah. And it pretty much looks the same to a degree, day in, day out, week to week. There's a few non-negotiables. And I think you can get very caught up in recruitment with a lot of different stuff. So I think you need to be really, really clear on what's my non-negotiables. And if it's not a commercially driven activity you're doing, you're probably wasting your time and being a bit of a busy fool. Day to day, what would that look like? So then some of the non-negotiables that I have is, I still, even as a business owner, I'm still on the tools, so you guys know. Yep. So I still do this religiously. 10 senior candidate interviews a week, proactively. Candidates that are not necessarily on the market, but that I want to build relationships with. That's an absolute non-negotiable. a minimum of 5 client meetings, and the majority of those client meetings need to be commercial, as in there is something within the next sort of 3 to 6 months, whether it be they're building a team or they are looking to transform that business. So I know that there's going to be something within that business that's worthwhile me making this relationship with. And that comes down to just really qualifying the meetings that you're having. So that's definitely a non-negotiable. Some of the others are around outreach, business development on social media. So we have a minimum of 3 posts a week. I'm sure you boys see them all the time. Critical mass, though, we are a team of 8 all up. 5 of us are recruiters. And frequently we'll see people going, oh, you guys are everywhere. You must be like, Laura, you must have like a 20-person business. I'm like, nope.
It compounds and compounds,
absolutely,
doesn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's the small things doing it consistently. And again, it comes back to my original point, like playing the long game and just thinking about what's the one things that we can do to push us further along at each intersection.
Yeah, got you.
One thing you just mentioned there in terms of client meetings, right? You try to get out to, was it five a week? How important for you and for, I guess, any recruiters coming up are they that they're face-to-face as opposed to, I think a lot of, a lot of times we can get caught up in email, in text, whatever, and we lose that connection. How important is that for you and your success?
Absolutely. If it takes you 45 minutes to go out on a train or a taxi, take the 45 minutes. Make your phone calls then. Be productive. And I think it comes back to how do I balance things? I'm always doing 2 things at once. So if I'm traveling, like this morning, traveling here, I was doing emails, I was doing phone calls, I was listening to a podcast myself at the same time. So maximize the time that you've got. So for like business owners as well, it's not wasted time for your team to go out and have these face-to-face meetings, as long as they've been pre-qualified, of course.
Yeah.
But super, super important. Like people by people. And you can't build relationships that have depth purely based on an online or email relationship. It does, like in my humble opinion, doesn't work.
And for you, are you kind of more of a let's have a coffee, breakfast, lunches, dinners? Do you kind of mix it up a bit?
I'd love to have more dinners and lunches. No, I don't have time for any of any of those niceties. But yes, back when I was like a 360 consultant by myself, sure. But at the minute, coffee catch-ups, absolutely. Even if it's like everybody's working from home, no problem. Where do you live? Where's your favorite coffee? Let's catch up there. And they really appreciate that, And normally we'll have 2 consultants going out as well. So it really shows the person that we're meeting that we're taking the meeting seriously. We're there with an objective, but not an agenda per se. And we're taking the time to really get to know them in an environment where they are as well. So it's easy. The barrier to entry is low.
And you also talked about something that's a non-negotiable for you is the 10 kind of senior candidate interviews per week as well. I think a lot of what we see anyway, a lot of junior recruiters get very focused on chasing the client side.
Yeah.
But also meeting candidates that may eventually become clients is really important as well. How do you get those conversations happening to not set, I guess, unrealistic expectations for the candidates?
I think, particularly I can only speak in the executive market that I play in terms of tech and transformation. Like our candidates are our clients.
Yep.
But I dare say, for the most part, regardless of what practice or desk you sit on, your candidates are your clients or they'll eventually be your clients. So I think, again, it comes back to playing the long game. And there's many times where, let's say, you'll reach out and the person comes back and they're like, oh, actually, I'm not hiring, because I'm assuming that's why you're reaching out, but I am looking. I see a lot of consultants go, oh, okay, let's just catch up. I don't have anything for you at the moment. Let's just meet later on the track. Me, if I'd be like, great, let's catch up. And it fits within that 10 quota. I mean, we're not going to meet people for people's sake. And we just have those conversations and be like, look, what are you not getting in your current role that ultimately you'll have to leave to achieve? And really, really focus. It's all about them. And it should be. We're in the people game. So it is all about them. And again, that really forms a really solid baseline. And then in years to come, sometimes it takes before they move or, they move sooner. They become a client. Like most of our best clients have never actually been ones that I've gone out and gone, right, I want this as a client. They've been a candidate that even a recruiter's placed them, that I've built a relationship with that's deeper, and they end up wanting to use FT to recruit and build their team because of the investment that I've taken sometimes over years.
And that's that long-term approach, right? That you talked about it earlier. And I think, a lot of times where it's about the here and now in our industry, right? We've got a role, we need a candidate to fill that role. Let's go find that candidate. Obviously, that's a part of our job and we need to do it. But just that importance of talent pipelining, especially senior talent long-term.
Being proactive rather than reactive. I think we do get so caught up in a reactive nature in what we do. But it's the proactive stuff that will always pay dividends.
That's it.
And how, like, from an actual time and routine perspective, I mean, you talked about some of the activities that you're very strict on.
Yes.
Once again, I guess Chris and I can both speak from experience with young kids. I've got a 3-month-old at home as well, which going to 2 kids.
Godspeed.
Oh, man. So I'm keen to know, right, like I run a business, but I don't run a team, right? You do. So how do you structure your days, your weeks from an actual routine perspective?
I'll give you 2 answers. In terms of being a working parent and a business owner, being a working parent, like I'm not in the office like bang on 8:30. Shock. Like it's just like very rarely happens. Abby, who's here, will tell you that for most days. But look, I think I'm in the office before 9 o'clock and some days I'm leaving at 4. So it's all around maximizing the time that I'm actually there to be as productive as humanly possible. The hardest working and most productive employees will most likely be parents because they're all in the same boat. For those that don't necessarily have children, and what I would have done previously, I was the first in the office and the last one out. I was working with a lot of executives. I didn't understand most of what they did for a long time. And, I had to learn. And I wasn't the quickest learner. So I was like, well, what can I do to expedite that? And I just outworked everybody else. So I was there first thing in the morning, last thing at night. And I front load, like as a business owner now, I do still front load my weeks. So on a Monday and a Tuesday, I will typically, inverted commas, work late. So I might be in the office to 7, 8 o'clock at night doing more administrative stuff after core business hours to get that done. So then I have to worry about it for the rest of the week. Or the thinking time at the start of the week, because as we all know in recruitment, things like to go a little skew-if, and then it all happens on a Friday, as we know. So I front load a lot of the stuff that's more time consuming early before the proverbial hits the fan, which inherently always does in recruitment. So, yeah. Yeah.
It's, I think we're talking to someone yesterday about it. You can have the best plans in the world, and in our space, it just doesn't normally go like that.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. But I think it also, you still need to, when I said about, the 5 client meetings, I still dedicate certain hours to certain activities and making sure that that's done. So by the end of the week, regardless of the reactive stuff that's happened, the core things that shift the needle are still getting done consistently to the best of your degree every week. Because that, as we all know, compounds. So rather than being a busy fool, because that's also very easy to do.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's some good advice. I think even as a recruiter that perhaps isn't managing teams, like the idea of getting the important stuff done early in the week or early in the day from a priority perspective is really important. So I think, especially when you're learning the craft, so to speak, there's so many different components or elements to our job, right? The job of a 360 recruiter is probably 5 jobs in any other industry or sector. Yeah. So I think time management, if I look at some of the best performers I've worked with or managed, their time management is just second to none.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned just now when you first sort of started in the industry, not a great learner, but you're in the office for ages, right? How important has it been in the office? Right?
Oh,
because I know, everyone wants to work from home. Look, I love working from home as well. But just in terms of, those recruiters who are maybe 2 or 3 years in who are still, they want to continue a career, still learning. How important is that?
It's the most important thing. If you genuinely want to be successful, there's only so much one of us can earn on our own. Let's be honest. So we have at Frazer Tremble, we have a bias for the office, but we're all like that. We like to be with each other. We like to be having those conversations in the moment, solving problems in the moment, rather than, I need to jump on a Teams call and, that gets pushed out because I couldn't get a hold of them or whatever it needs to be. But Yeah, absolutely. Unless you are at the top of your game and you know exactly what you need to be doing day in, day out, and you're consistently hitting your targets and your numbers and your expectations, get in the office. Be beside the top performers. Like I think within 5 feet of a top performer will increase your performance by 15%. By being beside a poor performer or being at home can drop your performance by 30%. So if you're not hitting your targets and you're also working from home, there may be a correlation. I can't say entirely, but there might be a correlation. But yeah, get in the office as long as everybody else there's too. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, like, we don't have any specific data on it, but I think, from a lot of agency owners we speak to, they definitely think that the work from home has, brought some really good things to our industry.
Absolutely.
But overall, from a performance perspective, especially for the younger or newer recruiters, it's probably had a detrimental effect to just how fast they can ramp up compared to pre-pandemic levels, which is interesting.
I mean, I have a rule, work wherever you're most productive.
Yep.
Like even now, 12 plus years in recruitment, like I get so distracted at home. Like, oh, the washing needs to get done, and oh, those dishes are annoying me, and oh, what's that outside? And like it's just, with your own company. Sometimes it is nice when you need to get stuff done, or you've just got a day that you're already got your meetings booked in. But if I have a free, not that happens very often, diary, and I'm at home, I know for a fact I am not productive. But that's just me personally.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm the same as well. I feel you.
Distracted by that bird that just...
Yeah. I had the issue with the birds after.
All of a
like,
sudden,
oh,
I
go
feel
down
like...
to the coffee shop and just, and have a little leisurely coffee there
all of a sudden, I
too.
feel like, I might go for a walk. Like, it's freezing cold, raining, but...
Why not?
Here we are.
Yeah, distracted by anything.
Moving on to, I guess, your drives and motivators. Been in recruitment a long time. Why do you do what you do? Have you stayed in it?
Oh, I'm a glutton for punishment, I think. I think I'm intrinsically motivated anyway, and I think I've been brought up that way with a hard work ethic and what that looks like. But the reason why I do what I do is I have a deep passion and drive to actually make the industry as good as it possibly can. And like, I can't make everybody that way, but I certainly can be part of the solution, not the problem. And I think that's what drives me for the most part, and one of the reasons why I set Frazer Tremble up in the first. The second is I genuinely love what I do. Like I think it comes down to I enjoy the industries that I work in, the people I get to speak to. Like I get to meet some of the most interesting, quirky, intelligent, high-performing individuals in the country in the transformation space. And that I'm still fascinated 12 years on from when I first started. So I genuinely enjoy like what I recruit. And I think that helps me keep in the business. But yeah.
And you talked off air as well, something that drives you is giving more than taking. How has that helped you?
Yes. Lead with value. And, when we do client meetings, I always say to the team, give 2 bits of value, get 2 bits of information, but make sure you give them 2 bits of value. And whatever that may come in form of market insights, what their competitors are doing, what their career might look like, a connection in the industry that, would be helpful for them. It can come in many shapes and forms, but you got to deposit more into their bank before you then start taking from that and asking for favors or introductions. And the more you do, and it's just a mindset thing, the more you lead with value and the more you lead with, how can I make this conversation better for the other person, not for myself? Like, a bit philosophical. I feel like it'll come back. And 12 years on, it has, and it does frequently.
And look, and that's a common theme from people that we've spoken to on this potty as well, where, all high performers seem to have that trait where, give more than you take, right?
Obviously, being a really good recruiter, business development, client acquisition is an important part of the role. I think for a lot of recruiters, it's also the most difficult part and the hardest part of the role, right? And I think everyone probably agree with that.
Yeah.
For you personally, like you've been in the industry now, so it's probably a bit easier because you've got those relationships.
Yeah.
But if you think back to early on, what was it that you did from a business development perspective, like the actual nuts and bolts of what you did to kind of build your network?
Yeah, what I could probably talk about is as well what we're doing currently with new employees when they come in, like a lot of the Fraser Tremble team are not from Australia. So they're the same amazing recruiters, but they don't have relationships. They don't have the networks leveraging from Fraser Tremble's, but they also need to build their own. So practically for anybody that's looking to build out their BD strategy is, again, it comes down to process, and it comes down to being really intentional about what you're trying to achieve. Who's your target audience? What are the pain points that they're actually experiencing within their industries, and focus there. So like when I first started off, I had spoken to a couple of contractors, and education seemed like there was a lot of projects happening within the education sector. So I'm like, all right, seems like a good way to start. And I just focused purely on project managers, PMO people, BAs that had worked or working in education, build up the insights, find out where the pockets of businesses that were growing, and then double down on that. So I think we can see all the shiny tools and be like, oh, there's work over here, and oh, there's work over there. But I think just being really, really clear on the sectors and the roles that you're going after, and focus on that to start off with. So practically, what does that look like? We call it 5 by 5. So pick 5 companies and find 5 contacts. If you don't have 5 contacts within a company, it's probably not the right company in terms of size and scale for us. Again, that could be different for other people's industries, but 5 by 5. And then to double on that, 5 candidates that are in those industries that are open to new opportunities. There's a million ways for us to find what that is. So you're having dual conversations. You're having with people, conversation with people wanting to leave those industries, and then also people that are hiring managers potentially as well, and gathering the insights and using that to combine, and doing that consistently every week. So it's 25 new contacts from a business development point of view, but also from a candidate standpoint as well, and doing that every single week.
I like that because it also emphasizes the importance of having that real kind of specialization or niche in that particular market on your desk, which I think, you know, we speak to a lot of recruiters who are looking to come out of a desk or out of a company, and so often it's because they haven't had that focus on a particular sector. Yeah. And like you said, they're chasing everything everywhere.
And I've been there too. I think that's just the nature of the beast sometimes as well. But just, focusing on the sectors and focusing on doubling down on that. And we've done that a lot better over the last couple of years within FT, rather than being so broad across so many different sectors. And that's having a lot better outcomes in the long run, for sure.
And I think you're a really good example of someone who's kind of stayed in the same, you know, industry, sector, market over a long period of time. Because I think that's the other thing, you know, we speak to a lot of recruiters about who are looking to change sectors and change markets. And I guess we get it, right? Like sometimes the company may not be right. Yeah. But so many recruiters are very quick to ditch what they've done for the last, you know, year and a half, 2-3 years, and you've got to start again. Yeah. So how important, you know, or how beneficial has it been for you to stay in that same market for such a long time?
Yeah, no, it absolutely. Like in project services and transformation, like I dare say, you know, there's probably 10 of us in the country that have been doing it for the same time and have got great reputations, and we've really doubled down on that. But I've also evolved as well and thought of adjacent to the core that I've done. Customer experience would be a great one. 5 years on, we have over 300 chief customer officers that we regularly catch up with through collabs, through our WhatsApp group, through industry events that I wouldn't have done 12 years ago. And we'd be really well known now for customer experience as well. So you can think about where your current practice is and what's an adjacent complementary area that you could look at to expand your current practice as well, without having to change totally in different directions.
Just on that, in terms of obviously playing that long-term game, how do you find the balance between the short-term? Obviously, you have to generate revenue placements. You need to keep the business and the lights on, right? So absolutely. How do you manage your time? How do you find that balance between the two?
We've got our BD playbook at FT. And we've got our short-term BD strategy, we've got our medium-term, and then we've got our long-term strategy. So each week you should be doing a little bit on each of those. Like, don't get me wrong, we still look on Seek, we still look on LinkedIn in terms of live jobs. That's the here and now, the PSAs that we work with, mapping out who's going to be hiring, when they're going to be hiring. But I think it's looking at each of those 3 things, again, consistently, and having a strategy for each of those. So you're not constantly just playing in what's happening right here, right now.
All right, what we want to talk about now is mindset, because I think this is a really, really important part of, I think, a recruiter's, skill set, if you want to call it that. I don't know, is mindset a skill set? Maybe. But I think when we spoke to you about this, there was some really interesting stuff that you spoke about.
Yeah, you said, a quote that stood out for me is, you realised early on, what do you want to be famous for? Talk us through that.
Yes, I can't take credit for that line myself, but I certainly had a leader sit me down early on my recruitment career, and she was like, Laura, what do you want to be famous for? What do you want to be known for? And I'm like, yeah, right. Just wanted to make some money, quite frankly.
Bit philosophical for a junior recruit.
Oh, of course. Like, I'm in my 20s. I'm just living my best life. But no, I went away. I'm like, look, I can't answer this. And I went away and I really started thinking about it. And at that time, I'd come back and I said, I want to be known as a person of value. And I think that still reigns true today. And it's evolved beyond that. But what do you want to be famous for? And what I want to be famous for and what FT to be famous for is a company of value that really genuinely values customer experience, whether that be on the candidate side or whether that be on the client side. And that's what I really want us to be famous for, and to leave people in a better position than what they were before that conversation or that meeting or whatever it needs to be. Because at the end of the day, the downside of our industry is we can't help everybody, but you can leave them in a better position than what they were prior to that conversation, even if it's just a confidence boost or a connection that they haven't thought of, or somebody that you've met before. You're like, oh, you really should speak to them. I think you guys would connect, even if it's just on a personal level. I think there's something we could always do for the betterment of the other person that we're meeting. When it comes back to that, I want to be known for value and giving it.
And do you guys track or measure or monitor that in any particular way?
Do we, in terms of, well, I guess eventually commercially, it will always, I'm extremely commercial, but not at all costs.
Yep. And
that's also a mindset. I'm a firm believer, the more you put out there, eventually it will come back to you, rather than always thinking about, I need to get this fee or I need to get this. Obviously, that's what we're in the business of doing, but I don't start there.
Okay. Any fears in recruitment, in business?
Oh, God, how long have you got?
Yeah.
I think we just live on a knife edge, don't we? Sure. Fears. I don't fear the markets. And I know you guys would get this too when you interview candidates, and they always love to the market's not great. We can't control any of that. All we can control is ourselves. So I don't fear market conditions or geopolitical tensions and what Trump's doing with his tariffs, and because again, we can't control any of that. So I don't fear any of that. I don't know if I actually do fear anything. I'm just very intentional and mindful of, we need to run a really sustainable business because there's 8 other people's careers on the line, and just taking that really seriously. So I don't fear anything, but I do take a number of things that we do as recruiters and as business owners really seriously because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said there as well about the market and not being able to control it.
Yeah.
And you're right. We definitely speak to people who can get in that mindset of the market.
Oh, it's just an easy one to default to, isn't it?
It is, and it's interesting because we could speak to a recruiter, let's say an accounting recruiter today, who will say, "Oh, the market's no good."
Yeah.
But we've also got 5 accounting agencies who are all looking to hire and can't get enough accounting recruiters. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of tend to believe the market, so to speak, is what you make of it.
Correct. It's not a market issue. It's a BD strategy issue.
Yeah.
And a mindset potentially as well.
Yeah, and sure, there's going to be times like COVID where it's like, okay, yeah, the market's cooked. Like there's nothing happening. But I think for the most part, a lot of it is mental and mindset.
Like we launched, you guys know this, we launched in the 2nd of April 2020, like 2 days after Dan put us into lockdown. I did 500K that year.
Yeah, there you go.
Like in a new business.
In a new business, in COVID, when nobody was hiring, I did $500,000
Jeez.
in that first year. and then elevated beyond that. And it took us 3 months. Don't get me wrong. The first 3 months, there was nothing.
Yeah.
I was nearly signing on the dole at that point, but thankfully we lived to tell the tale. But yeah, so there is work there. It's just around your business development strategy to ultimately get there. And again, we doubled down on webinars and value and connecting people that were really struggling, and making free placements in some regards at the start. But again, it came back in dividends, because when they landed their jobs, who did they come to recruit for? It wasn't my intention at the time. I was just trying to help people. But again, it's that philosophy. It'll eventually come back to you in some shape or form.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to talk about or ask you about personal branding, because we touched on it earlier. You and the business, you're all really active on the socials, on LinkedIn in particular. Talk to me about how important that's been, I guess, in terms of growth and development, not only for you, but your business and your team over the last couple of years.
It is, if we track back, 85% of what we do commercially has come through our social media strategy for the most part. That's where we get our most traction. Even in my previous agency, when everybody else was like, Laura, why are you posting this really weird content? It was memes back then. I have evolved and finessed my social media personal branding, thanks to Abby and our marketing team as well. That's also been a big part of it. But no, I post to the horror of my directors at the time, these horrendous memes. But my target audience found it hilarious. And they're like, Laura, you're the only one posting anything. Videos, just one and done. They weren't polished. They weren't particularly noteworthy. But people got to know who we are. We're in the people business. And I think we can forget that a little bit as well. And it's okay. Other people's opinion of me are none of my business. So whether people like it or not, I couldn't care less.
Well, they can unfollow you if they don't like
it. Sure, exactly. And that's the other thing as well with social media. It's people can get a little bit caught up in like, oh, I didn't get any likes, and oh, I didn't get any comments. The lurkers, they're the ones that are normally going to come back to you in some shape or form. Our most engaged on social media are amazing, but more often than not, it's people that are not commenting, they are not replying, they are not messaging you. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, I've been following you for a couple of years. I couldn't tell you how many times I have heard that. And I'm like, we're not even connected in some instances as well. So you just never know where the lurkers are going to come in.
I love that term, the lurkers.
Yeah. Start using it. I'm going to steal it. No, we see it as well. Like how many times, people that we've never spoken to before, never been on our radar, saying, hey, I've just seen your post, or, seen a few of your posts. I've gotten great value out of it. I want to talk. Yeah. Right? So it's that, I think it's just about being there, being front of mind, basically, for people, right? Yeah. And being out there. So when that time comes when they need to hire, if they're a client or they're looking at changing roles.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be that complicated. Like, I am not a scholar of, economics and business transformation, and I can't do the job. I intimately understand it and know enough to be dangerous, but you don't need to do the job. So even if it's an article, what's your thoughts on it? And with ChatGPT, there's literally no excuse. Chuck it in there, ask it, what's the 5 top points of this article, and reframe it for my target audience. This is my target audience, and it will do it for you. And then finesse that accordingly to make it sound not like ChatGPT.
Yep.
Super simple.
Yeah, I think a lot of agencies and a lot of recruiters are missing huge opportunity by not building that brand. And I think for some people, there's just a hesitation, like they're a little bit scared or afraid to do it. But
sure.
I know, and we were the same. Chris and I, we post pretty regularly on LinkedIn, but you look at my personal socials, I don't really post anything on there.
Same.
Right?
I haven't got time for that.
Nah, but I think if they're knowing that there's a commercial return or you're adding value to your community, which results in a commercial return.
Yes.
That's the driver right there, right?
Yeah. So, well, look, I can speak to Michael from our team, amazing recruiter, came over from England and the European markets, and we just ran an event 2 days ago with 20 plus chief data officers that he has brought in through his social media content, through building a personal brand under the FT brand. And, eventually that'll pay back in dividends for him. And that's in 3 short months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Laura, I guess what I wanted to do just to kind of wrap it up is to get maybe a piece of advice, maybe 1 or 2 tips for any, let's say, recruiters in the first 1 to 2 years of their career. If you could give a bit of advice that's going to serve them well over the next 10 years, what would it be?
Stop hiding behind emails. Get out there face to face for the first part. Start meeting candidates, clients. Get on the phones. A lot of magic can happen when one talks to another human being. So get on the phones. And the other is, if that's too daunting for you, get on video. Start recording some videos, start sending that out, cut through the noise in a different way to what your competitors are doing because they've done it for 15 years and I've done it this way forever in a day. Get creative, definitely. And that will help you stand out and have a pretty long career.
Some good tips there, and it just goes to show to be successful. It's nothing outrageous you have to do. Just speak to people, meet them, build relationships, and away you go.
Pretty much.
Laura, thank you for coming on today to The Special Sauce. We've really appreciated your thoughts and insights, and I'm sure the audience will as well. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thank you. That's a wrap for this episode of The Special Sauce. We hope that you're walking away with some insights that you can actually use every day on your desk. If you enjoyed the conversation, follow, like, subscribe, or leave a review so we can reach more recruiters just like you. For more about Sorciety, check out our website on sorciety.com or follow us on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening and see you next time on The Special Sauce.